You know, they've known this problem's been around for a long time, but they've been able to paper it over and get away with it because the cycles, even the housing bubble, was papered over. But you can do that just for so long. And yet after the bubble burst in '08, we never went back to economic growth enough to cover all the spending. The spending and living beyond our means continued, but there wasn't a correction. You know, since Bretton Woods started in '71, we'd have ups and downs, and they were seeing the prices were getting ahead of things and was getting a little frothy. So they say, well, we better back off and just go up, and then have a recession, and that sort of makes enough correction for the individuals to go back to work. Well, see, that's not working now, and the addiction is so powerful that following '08, they had to get into being real determined to convince the markets they're serious, and that's when the QE stuff came in. Then there's talking about trillions of dollars, and the evidence that was starting to show that this was bad. The Fed was worried about it. So in 1914, in the next couple of years, they started barely shrinking the balance sheet. But by 2019, it was the interest rates were going up, and that is when the markets shouted that there's something wrong, and that's when the overnight rates, which is totally rigged and has access to the Fed, the overnight rates, which were totally unsustainable, went up to 10%. I thought that was a major event, and I think it was a signal of what is coming. But even that was pulled off because emergency, get the printing presses running, and that sort of helped along. But it had to depend then, since then, on $120 billion monthly purchase by the Fed, $80 billion of treasuries, and $40 billion of mortgage-backed securities. So yeah, it's injected. The trust factor was still there, and they got away with it. But right now, that is changing again. And this is why they had a major meeting, a major announcement on Wednesday that things were going to be different. They were going to change the policy, and on the surface, it was a claim they were going to really tighten. It's surprising at first for a lot of people why the markets didn't really crash, but there are some parts of the market, if you look carefully, you know they're crashing. But the major markets that the banks are concerned about, they haven't literally crumbled, and that it says they're going to keep it going for a while. But in 2019, after a couple of years, those rates went up. The market was saying it doesn't work, and that's when they had to once again go back and accelerating the monetary inflation. And that we're not at that point now, but we know it's coming. Most people don't believe this. Peter Schiff isn't the only one that's skeptical. There's some bankers out there that are smart enough to know about it, but they have to be real careful. They're under restraints. They have to be a little bit politically correct. So I think it's up for grabs. I think it's very, very serious. The spending is not going to go down. And when you look at what's happened here in the last couple of years, when you look at correcting for the Fed's mistakes and the printing of money there, as well as the crazy stuff going on with COVID and that epidemic that's going on, the epidemic of when are we going to get our passports for everybody? So that's going on, and this to me is leading to big trouble. And I think what we've seen this past week and this announcement on Wednesday didn't make the markets worse. But today, the announcement about employment, they were expecting very, very super employment because the jobs are going begging, and yet new jobs were lower than expectations. So that was a weakness on the market. But the big problem for most people who are serious about this, first you have to interpret the statistics. Then you have to accept the fact that they're government statistics. So if you go only by the government printed of the CPI on the health of the dollar, you could be in trouble. So this is something that is going on. The interpretation is very, very difficult, but they're struggling. And tell you what, I'd hate to be on Wall Street being responsible battle for a lot of people's money. I'd be looking long term, and I couldn't live through these 20-minute deals.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.